Round 3 of the 2020 Formula 1 season takes us to Hungary, and coming off the back of his win last race, Daniel Ricciardo will be hoping McLaren can continue to give him a competitive race car. But competition is tough, as it was very apparent Chevrolet had brought more upgrades for Haas this weekend following Hülkenberg's engine blowout last time out. And along with them, Ferrari were continuing to show good form over short stints, but their tire wear still remains to be a mystery they will need to solve. Hungary has 3 very different sectors, and it appeared that over one lap, different cars suited different sectors. Audi dominated the speed traps in Sector 1, Jaguar and Ferrari making up ground in Sector 2, and Haas taking Sector 3 with some clever engine mapping from Chevrolet. With such a short track, the field will likely be spread by less than 1.2 seconds, and with the circuit being described as Monaco without the barriers, the race should be quite a tight affair. Let's take a look at the starting grid for the 2020 Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's an unfamiliar face and an unfamiliar car that takes pole position, with Nico Hülkenberg putting his Haas quickest in qualifying and going faster than Antonio Giovinazzi in the Ferrari, who was within about a tenth or so and did manage to go a hundredth of a second quicker than the other Haas of Roman Grosjean, who will have to settle for third, alongside Carlos Sainz, who starts way down in fourth for the Audi team, a driver that is obviously used to getting pole positions at this point. Daniel Ricciardo, hot off his win last time out, will start from 5th position, but ahead of the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. Vettel once again getting beaten in qualifying by his teammate. Aarav for Jaguar will start from 7th position alongside the McLaren of Kevin Magnussen, who joins him on that 4th row of the grid. In 9th position is Stoffel Vandoorne in the other Jaguar, who will start just behind his teammate. And then comes Sergio Perez, his qualifying struggles continuing this season, as he'll start from just inside the top 10. Max Verstappen for Mercedes will start from 11th position. He's joined on the 6th row of the grid by Mick Schumacher for the Monster Rehab team. Those two drivers starting just ahead of their respective teammates, with Pascal Wehrlein for Mercedes in 13th position, Sophia Flörsch for Monster Rehab starting from 14th position. In 15th position, we have Pierre Gasly. The Red Bull qualifying struggle continues, as they can only manage to get onto the 8th row of the grid. Lando Norris for Williams will join him on that row. Then comes Leclerc in the Alfa Romeo in 17th position. He's joined by Ocon in 18th position, who does manage to put his Renault a little bit higher up than we've seen in recent races. Then Sergio Camara in the other Williams will start down in 19th position. Fuoco managing to avoid the back row of the grid in his Alfa Romeo from 20th position, and it is going to be 21st for Nico Kari in the other Red Bull, and 22nd position and dead last for Valtteri Bottas in the Renault.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 3 today for Season 6 at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hungary, always one of my favourite places to come to for MyDriver Career Mode, because it always throws up something every single season. And we've got overcast conditions at the moment, so there may be some rain also to add to the spice of what should be an already tight race, with the entire grid covered by 1.2 seconds in qualifying. So close. But there is the championship. If you did miss the last episode at the British Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But as you can see on the bottom right, it's Daniel Ricciardo that leads by 4 points to myself, and then Carlos Sainz in 3rd, and Pascal Wehrlein doing a great job at the moment, up in 4th place in the championship here. But at this qualifying, obviously you saw a little bit down the order, me and Stoffel, as a few cars have really improved, especially Haas Chevrolet, of course. Nico Hülkenberg getting his 2nd pole position in his career, obviously the last one being way back in 2010 in that Williams car at Brazil. But we line up here in P7, my actual race number here, so hopefully it's a lucky one, because we go to 5 red lights to the Hungarian Grand Prix for round number 3 of MyDriver 2020. 5 red lights have gone out and we're underway, and we've got an amazing start there on Daniel Ricciardo. We're going to try and overtake him and also squeeze Sebastian Vettel if we can. Into turn 1 we go. I think Nico Hülkenberg still leads the way into turn 1. Grosjean goes a little bit wide, and Giovinazzi goes side by side with him as we go round the outside of Sebastian Vettel, successfully squeezing out Ricciardo, and Vandoorne is up into 7th place. Bit of contact there between me and Sebastian. 2 old riders rivals, of course. In Season 4, we battle for the title. This time round, we're squeezing each other out for 5th place here at the beginning of the Hungarian Grand Prix. We have done so, and now Vettel is under pressure from my teammate, but at the moment it's a 1-2 for Haas Chevrolet, followed by the Ferrari car. Then you got the Audi of Carlos Sainz. So there was 3 wide into that corner, I think, just behind us, between my teammate and the Mercedes car, I think it was, and Daniel Ricciardo. But we're just comfortably into P5, trying to chase down Carlos Sainz now as we move on towards the end of the lap. This is Stoffel Vandoorne on the back of, I think this is Max Verstappen in the Mercedes car, who's had a lightning start here at the beginning of this Grand Prix. Magnussen closely behind, but Vandoorne with a dive down the inside of turn 1. He'll have to try and squeeze Verstappen out on the outside, but Verstappen's not going to have none of it. He's going to keep it on the outside there, on the medium tyres, remember, you can see. So if he can try and make this, he'll really disrupt Vandoorne's race, but they're still side by side. Magnussen has to just stick back and watch this fight, and Vandoorne will surely squeeze Verstappen out. Yes, he will. Very aggressive, and Verstappen comes back on track very quickly, and now Magnussen side by side, and the Audi car, they go 3 abreast into that corner, and there's been contact involved. Berline's round. Berline's been spun round on the McLaren's rear end. They went 3 wide into that very tight corner. It's already difficult to go 2 wide there. They tried to make it go 3 wide, and I think that in the background there was Mick Schumacher popping up down the inside of all 3 of them. So I think he's up into P7, so Schumacher really gaining from that. Meanwhile, we're coming back to our POV, and we're on the back of Carlos Sainz in P5, trying to make it P4 if we can, and Vettel is equally trying to close up on me in P6. So we're right up Sainz's gearbox, trying to pressurize him straight away. We'll have to look at the replay a little bit later on at that incident we just saw with Berline there, but Pascal Berline very unlucky to spin round on the rear end of Kevin Magnussen. But anyway, at the end of lap 2, just trying to suss out a racing line here through the final corner, getting a good run as you got Nico Hülkenberg setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix, then we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and then Vettel goes purple as well. So we're all going very, very fast. But here we go down the inside of Carlos Sainz, trying to do what Vandoorne couldn't to Max Verstappen, squeeze Sainz out on the apex and the exit of the corner. We've got that position up into P4, and there's been contact. Carlos Sainz has spun us round. We've hit Vettel. Sainz is out as well on the side, and we're stuck on his front tyre. We have to reverse the car. We've got damage to our front wing there, I think, on the right-hand side of our end plate there. Vettel's the wrong way round, facing at the outside of the circuit. We're down to P8 now. We've got Max Verstappen, who was initially fighting with our teammate, now fighting with us right behind us, tucked up on the inside. He's going to go around the outside of us to this tight corner. We're going to make a little bit of contact with him and send him wide, and we just about keep P8 there. But calamities here at the Hungarian Grand Prix as 3 big title rivals collide, essentially. I've been in a title fight before with Sebastian Vettel. Of course, last season I was in a fight with Carlos Sainz, and all 3 of us have been caught up in an incident there. And now Verstappen tries to go around the outside. It's very clear that I've got some sort of damage on my front wing, as I can't quite keep it straight in the corners. I think there definitely is a bit of end plate off there, and we're going to have to make a pit stop now. We're going to go on to a set of medium tyres. I think that'll be down to lean mixture to save the fuel, because now we have to change our entire strategy. I was going to go to super soft and go aggressive. Now I'm going conservative, save the fuel. We have to play the long game here. So as we move on towards lap 4, this race has just become a disaster for us, and this race has to become a bit of a damage limitation, essentially, as we're going to be stone dead last, I think, at this point. I don't know if Carlos Sainz or Vettel have damage there. It was a hefty impact with Vettel. I was out of control. I just had no control of the car as it spun round, so Vettel, unfortunate to get held up in that. And to be honest, to be fair, I'm lucky I didn't kind of just crash out the Grand Prix straight away, because I just narrowly missed the wall on that right-hand side of the circuit there. As we come through turn 1, this is the place where it happened there. So now we're down to last place now on lap 4. We've got a long afternoon ahead of ourselves, but we're going to look at a replay now. This is actually the first incident which we missed, which was Pascal Verline. So we're going to show you an incident of that first. So we got Vandoorne, my teammate, going around the outside of Verstappen. He'll squeeze him out quite aggressively, but actually no contact made there with Verstappen or Vandoorne, so Verstappen just gets it wrong. Then you got Perez down the inside with Magnussen. They go 3 wide, never going to work to that corner. And then Verline, unfortunately, just comes steaming in, just can't get on the brakes fast enough, and spins round on the rear end of Magnussen. And so Schumacher's the one that nips down the inside, and then Sophia Fleury's teammate can try and make a move potentially. But now here's a replay of Sainz and myself. Ignore the tyre changing, that's a little glitch on the replay camera. But here comes Sainz, and at this point, as we pause it, I am fully ahead of Carlos Sainz. And this is where the contact's made. He hits his nose against my rear left tyre, spins myself round, he kind of goes into a half spin, although he gets off quite lucky there. This is an onboard from Sebastian Vettel here with the black gloves. You can see now up ahead, you can see I squeeze Sainz out on the left successfully because I do get it completely ahead of him. At this point, there is where the contact's made. That red front wing of Carlos Sainz nips on my left rear there, and then at this point, Vettel's kind of home and dry, and then there is the contact, unfortunately, for Sebastian Vettel. So, really unfortunate for him. So, apologies to him, but I completely had no control of my car at that point. So, he's just very, very unlucky to get tangled up in that. The Ferrari cars really haven't had a lot of luck so far this season. They've got a very good car, but, you know, tyre issues in the last few races, and now with Vettel, issues there. But now, as we move on to the end of lap 4, we're looking a little bit back, to be honest, a little bit back in time, because as this was going on, I was going to make my pit stop at the beginning of this lap. But it's 1-2 for Haas Chevrolet at the moment, with Antonio Giovinazzi closely behind in P3. So he's looking very punchy, and he's looking to try and catch, I think that's Nico Hulkenberg in second place. Then you've got Daniel Ricciardo following on in P4 at the moment in his papaya orange McLaren Honda. And then following him is my teammate Stoffel Vandoorne, who obviously got off dry after overtaking Verstappen. And there is the lucky one, Mick Schumacher, in a brilliant P6 at the moment, who got 3 moves done when those 3 went 3 wide in Sector 2, followed by Sergio Perez, who did actually come off pretty home dry behind Verstappen. Then Sophia Flores overtaking, or trying to overtake, Lando Norris at the moment, who's doing a fantastic job in that Williams car, who's on the tail end of the points, I think that is. So Lando Norris, the fellow Brit of mine, doing very, very well, going around the outside of the German driver in the Monster Rehab car. Is he going to make it side by side? Will he squeeze her out? Yes, he will, and he'll get that move. Both of them, I think, on medium tyres, or I think it might just be Sophia and Lando Norris ahead successfully. Then Magnussen goes side by side with the Red Bull car of Pierre Gasly. So it's all kicking off in the midfield towards the tail end. And then after all of these guys, you can see the train of then Gasly. You've got the Renault car, then the 2 Alfa Romeos of Leclerc and Fuoco, and Esteban Ocon also in the middle, and then followed by Seta Camara. And then behind them, a little bit down the order, is Nico Carey, and then following them is, there you go, Carlos Sainz and Sebastian Vettel, which I might add, both of these guys, no damage to their cars, which I think is, well, that's just unfair, isn't it? Just the karma is not coming back to me clearly at the moment with Vettel and Sainz. Yes, they're down the order, but they've got no damage, whereas here I am trotting around by myself, just trying to catch up to Pascal Wehrlein, who obviously span out as well. So both of us getting very, very unlucky. Actually, that's quite ironic, actually. Both me and Wehrlein, obviously former teammates from Mercedes GP in 2016 and 17. We're both the unlucky ones here, down in P21 and 22. Although, adding to the misery of this Grand Prix, to the long list of drivers having bad luck, Esteban Ocon has to unfortunately pull up there on the side of the circuit on lap 5 with an engine failure. His Renault engine has gone up in smokes. The only car with the Renault engine, of course, this season goes up in flames. So as we cross the line now towards lap 6, we'll see him on the left-hand side there, and so we'll gain at least 1 position in this Grand Prix effectively, and we're in P21 out of P21 though, because still technically then last place, isn't it? So now we move on to lap 6 now, looking at the top 5, and Antonio Giovinazzi, who has actually looking like he's overtaken one of the Haas cars, comes into the pits as well as Nico Hulkenberg. So I think it's Grosjean leading the way still, with Ricciardo now up into P2, but Antonio Giovinazzi, we missed the overtake, but did overtake Nico Hulkenberg, where both of them come in now for a bit of an earlier pit stop on lap 6 now, obviously wearing their tyres quite a bit. And then Mick Schumacher is up into P3. He's on the medium tyre, so that will mean effectively later on into the Grand Prix, Mick Schumacher will probably lead this Grand Prix because he'll be on medium tyres and will have yet to pit. But now we look a little bit later at the same lap, lap 7. This is Giovinazzi, who's just come out of the pits now, who I just mentioned made a pit stop a little bit earlier, has come out right behind Max Verstappen. So you can see the top 4, just about top 5, are quite some way ahead of the rest of the pack after all those incidents behind them. So they're really out of sync of this Grand Prix. So here goes Giovinazzi as they move on towards lap 8. This will be Antonio will try and have DRS down the inside. There's a car coming out the pit lane. It's going to be Romain Grosjean, I think that will be. So Grosjean will just about keep the lead of the Grand Prix, actually parks at the apex and actually blocks off Giovinazzi to maybe force Verstappen back into Antonio to make them scrap as Grosjean wants to get ahead. You can see his teammate just following behind in what will be right now P4 as it is on the grid, but Verstappen round the outside. Once again, Verstappen gets squeezed out of the same place for the second time in this Grand Prix, and I think there was a bit of carbon fibre flailing in the background there. I think Nico Hulkenberg made some contact with Max Verstappen, so very, very unfortunate for Hulkenberg, because I think that may need an extra pit stop, unfortunately for him. He was in a brilliant, what would have been at least third place in a podium position, but now as he finds himself parked behind Verstappen, I think there definitely was contact there. I think there was a bit of carbon fibre that went off onto the right-hand side of the circuit as we looked upwards from the hill. So very, very unfortunate. Behind him now, I think he's definitely struggling. You can see Verstappen's getting away from him, and he's being backed into Lando Norris and Sophia Flourish in that little fight there. But there's Giovinazzi trying to chase after this man, Romain Grosjean, who's effectively in a net first place. But I think on the road, he's in second because Ricciardo is yet to pit still. I think there may be Ricciardo at the end of that little fight, perhaps. But there you go. There is Nico Hülkenberg coming to the pits. So that's so unlucky. He already got some bad luck last race, if you remember, with the engine failure. Chevrolet fixed that issue, so he's not out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure this time around, but so unlucky that he has a bit of carbon fibre off. And there you can see at the end of that little replay shot, we got Sophia trying to overtake Lando there in the Williams car. But now we move on ourselves onto our POV, onto lap 9 now. As we come down the pit lane, we've overtaken Carlos Sainz, who's finally made his first pit stop on the Grand Prix. You can see in the top left, as well as Magnussen. So we are starting to slowly get back into this Grand Prix. We've gained 2 places there effectively after they've made their pit stops. And now the next guy up the road is Sergio Perez. We've got a lot of clean air ahead of us to try and catch up to him. So we will have eventually the pace to get to him. And so we move on to lap 10 now, on to lap 11 technically. So technically 2 laps later this will be. We get the DRS, move to the right hand side of the circuit. Perez struggling a little bit for pace on his medium tyres. We go down the inside and we're going to try and make this the easiest pass we can make this afternoon, because we can't get bogged down, because we've got more lovely clean air ahead of us to try and catch up to the next man down the road, which is our former teammate Pascal Wehrlein. So we're now up into P16. So slowly we are gaining back the places. So let's just see how we go, and here's fingers crossed we can get back into those points. I think if we can get to the points today, that'll be a very successful Grand Prix. And so this is later on the same lap. We're catching Pascal Wehrlein, who's really struggling on his medium tyres, because through this next corner you can see sparking away. He goes a little bit wide and sends me off a little bit on the wider line. He clearly definitely has issues, so we're going to dive it down the inside. It's going to be a very easy move actually. So I think Wehrlein really is struggling this Grand Prix, so really unfortunate. The man who was voted the driver of the day for the first Grand Prix and has done really well to outperform that Mercedes car in the race to its qualifying pace is really getting all the kind of rotten luck this race, and he's clearly struggling in those mediums right now. So we cross the line onto lap 12 up into Rich Mix. We're basically using Rich Mix in the first sector where most of the straights are. Then I'm putting it down to standard to basically make sure the throttle doesn't get away from me in sector 2 and 3 to try and gain the time. But Hülkenberg's setting the fast half of the Grand Prix, so he's going very well at the moment. Obviously out of sync now after that extra pit stop, but we've got a lot of clean air, and the next car ahead of us is actually our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne, surprisingly. I don't actually know how he's ended up there, but we'll have to see later on what if there's maybe any incident, maybe there's a replay to see. But now we move on to the end of lap 12, further up the order. This battle between Lando Norris and Sophia Flourish in the monster rehab car is still going on lap 13, so it's been going on for about 6 laps now, and Flourish will go down the inside. Will Norris go round the outside? He's on the soft tyre, so he should technically have more grip, and behind him is Magnussen, I think that is, just kind of biding his time. I can't quite tell by the helmet, we'll have to get a closer look, but Flourish goes round the outside of the next corner. Will she be squeezed out? Will she be able to squeeze Norris out on the next corner where Verstappen's been squeezed out so many times? Yes, he will, and in the same emphatic fashion, she gets the move done and is finally up the order now against Norris. And I think the McLaren car still held up there. And so now as we move on to the end of lap 13, on towards lap 14, that's Mick Schumacher in the lead of this Grand Prix. As I mentioned, not made a pit stop yet, so he's leading the Grand Prix because of his strategy. Then we've got Grosjean, Giovinazzi, then is Max Verstappen there, a little bit ways down the order in turn 1. Then there's Flourish, and then Norris, and then I think that is actually Daniel Ricciardo actually. So we can confirm that is Ricciardo who's down the order, actually getting held up effectively, because Norris, Flourish and Schumacher, and technically Verstappen as well, all on medium or soft tyres, basically going longer than all these top guys, which is the 2 Haas cars, well, one of the Haas cars now, I guess you could say, after Hülkenberg makes his pit stop, and the Ferrari of Giovinazzi. So Ricciardo really getting held up, and down the order we've got this huge train of the Red Bull car, 2 Alfa Romeos, the other Williams, and then Carey in the second Red Bull, and then there at the tail end of that train is Stoffel Vandoorne. So that is how we are going to close up to Vandoorne. Just like back at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where Vettel got held up by that huge train of the 2 Renaults and the Alfa Romeos and the Williams cars, Vandoorne similarly is getting held up by a train now at the Hungarian Grand Prix. And now as we move on to lap 15, we've got Ricciardo making making a move finally onto Flores. Lando Norris has made his pit stop earlier than Flores because obviously he is on soft tyres, but quite interestingly enough, Flores has managed to defend from Ricciardo, and so Ricciardo has to stay down the order. So great stuff there from the young German, but Ricciardo is really going to get frustrated there, not being able to then close up to the top fight of Giovinazzi and Grosjean. As we move on, still Vandoorne held up behind this train, and now by lap 16, a few laps later, look at this, we've closed up right to Vandoorne. So just like it happened in the British Grand Prix, we've used the traffic's come to our advantage, and so now Vandoorne will find himself looking in his mirrors and seeing my car steaming up to the inside of him. And can we go down the inside into turn 1 as we've got one of the Haas cars of Hulkenberg coming out the pit lane, and we're going to go side by side a little bit opposite lock for good measure on the exit of the corner. We'll have DRS wide open, but Vandoorne will also get some DRS, I think, off Hulkenberg. Will just about, unfortunately, unable to make the move, and Vandoorne will keep it ahead of us, and we're right off his gearbox though, so we can continue to make this fight. We've got a great run off that right-hander down the inside. It's going to be a very, very tight squeeze, but we make it work. We brake a little bit to make sure we give Vandoorne the room, and then through this famous right-hander where we made contact with Berline in Season 3, we go round the outside of Vandoorne, and we're going to have to really go quite aggressive into the chicane, really deep, hit the apex on the second part of the chicane, and we have got up the order, and now we're up into a lofty height of P5 at the moment, although albeit we're out of sync of this Grand Prix, and I still think we're going to be a little bit tough to make the points perhaps. We'll have to see. But now as we move on to lap 19, trying to chase down Mick Schumacher, but now my car is feeling a little bit odd, and as we move on to the next corner, look at this in the bottom right. Third to first, first to third. I've got a gearbox issue. I think I've lost second gear. I've never had this on this game. I think I've actually got a gearbox failure, and this is quite exciting but also quite annoying because now I have to very, very aggressively squeeze Vandoorne to the wall, almost dangerous in fact, as I need to aggressively defend from Vandoorne because I don't want to lose this position. I've worked hard to get into this position, and so now...
Okay, Arif, we've lost second gear, we've got some desync, so don't hold up Stoffel please. We're looking into a solution. Look into it faster please.
We have genuinely got a gearbox failure on this game. I've never had a gearbox failure in my entire history of doing F1 career mode, but I've got a legitimate failure the game has given me. I've lost second gear. I've got massive desyncs. The gearbox does not feel good. It's almost like the shifting doesn't quite work as it should. It's not seamless. It kind of offsets the car a little bit, and at the moment, every time we go into these corners now, the car's kind of moving around, under braking and kind of just wobbling, and so in this sector, it's an absolute nightmare. Obviously, this sector is the place where Hungary gets its name, Monaco without the barriers, because it basically is like Monaco with all these twisting corners. And now I'm really struggling to keep ahead of Vandoorne, and I am going to stick ahead of him, and I'm going to ignore my team radio because I want to keep the position. As I said, I worked hard for it, but now...
Box now, talk 1 and box. I repeat, talk 1 and box. We're going to have to go to the end with these issues. We'll get you in some clean air.
My team want me to make the pit stop. I'm going to follow through. I'm not too sure. Maybe my team has kind of cheekily called me into the pit stops just to kind of release Stoffel, because that was a kind of, convenient timing for them to call me into the box. But it also was about 14 laps left for the Grand Prix left. So I think it is also right about the right time to come in for a set of soft tyres, I think this will be. But... I don't know what the team can do. I don't think they can electronically fix the gearbox failure if I've lost second gear. Maybe they can do something for the desyncs, but I don't know if we've just lost second gear now permanently. To be fair, it's not the worst gear to have lost around Hungary, but the desyncs are probably worse because it definitely is unsettling the car. It's kind of hard to explain to you guys how it kind of feels because not many people get gearbox issues on the F1 game, but yeah, very, very odd. So now we've got an even longer afternoon ahead of us, but now we move on to lap 21. This is Romain Grosjean still leading the way from Antonio Giovinazzi in the Ferrari car. Then you've got Ricciardo in third place, and still brilliantly is Mick Schumacher in fourth place in the Monster Rehab car. And then a little bit down the order, we've got Stoffel Vandoorne and being chased down by Max Verstappen. And in the background there, I think that was one of the Haas cars of Nico Hulkenberg, this will be, who's still out of sync of this Grand Prix. Then you've got Sophia Flores, who's a little bit quite ahead actually. It got a nice gap to the next car, which is the Audi car of Sergio Perez, and he's being chased down by Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen has a little look, but unable to make that move. Meanwhile, here we are in P19, trying to close up to Pierre Gasly up ahead, who's in a big train, but now our evening is going to get from bad to worse, because look at that, we get second gear back, but now we've lost third gear. I don't have third gear anymore. I've got second, but look at that, you can see on the bottom right, I go from second to fourth, fourth to second. I have lost third gear, which is a lot worse than losing second. I could live with losing second place, and I could kind of get used to that. But no, we've lost third gear now. You can see also the red triangle is on that screen on the heads-up display, which indicates there's a problem with our car. We've not got tyre issues, we've not got front wing off, we've not got engine issues, and the gearbox is coloured in red. So we do actually have a real issue on the gearbox, and we've actually lost now third, which is much worse, because going to this next corner, these are the exact corners where at this point I would be in third gear trying to get the traction to go around the outside of Gasly, but no, I have to stick in fourth gear and I lose the position instead, and I have to stay down in 17th place. And there's this huge train after Gasly of the Renault car, the two Alfa Romeos, and then Sergio Perez, I think that is, or maybe Carlos Sainz. I think that's Carlos Sainz actually, because Sergio Perez is way up the order. But now I have to really go for it, so we're going to make a diving move down the inside of our former Red Bull teammate, make the move back up into 16th place this will be, and I have to go for it. I can't dawdle around. With third gear lost, I am going to lose pace in other places in the circuit. So in the places where I'm not losing time with having no third gear, I need to make the move. So we close up now on Valtteri Bottas in the Renault car. We're going to make the biggest dive bomb ever that we've made in a long while now, up into 15th place. But of course, the Renault car does not have the downforce of the Jaguar car, so we're able to make that move. But through these corners, just hampered so much, because second gear is too slow, and fourth gear we're going to lose too much time just kind of rolling the car through. And through this final corner as well, a nightmare to try and get the power down. But now we open DRS. Carey will have DRS on the next car, which is the Alfa Romeo, I believe, of either Fuoco or Leclerc, as one of them goes down the inside of Carlos Sainz. We're going to make the diving move down the inside of Carey there to make up one more position up into 14th place. But you can see there, Carlos Sainz has been squeezed out by one of the Alfa Romeo cars. Crazy scenes there. Sainz really struggling. We're going to go around the outside of Leclerc. It's Fuoco who's made the move. We're going to go around the outside of Sainz if we can. Squeeze him out on the exit there. And now we're up into 12th place there. Oh, there's been contact. Oh my God. Carlos Sainz is out! He's out this Grand Prix! Amazing scenes! Carlos Sainz is out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and that looked like such a weird impact. It looks like Sainz lost some speed on the exit and then kind of just hit Leclerc, and maybe they've got some awkward contact, and then definitely slammed into the wall there as I look behind me. So now, well, there's only one Audi in the points, and it's a very low point for Sergio Perez. So calamities for Audi this race, as now we're looking on the back of Fuoco, the second Alfa Romeo car. Can we go down the inside? Yes, we can. Fourth gear, very close stuff with Fuoco, but now, look at this. We're stuck in fifth. Our gear's jamming. Our gearbox is going even worse. Our gear jammed in fifth gear. That wasn't me over-revving fifth. That was actually my gearbox getting stuck in fifth. So not only do I have one less gear of third missing, but now apparently my gearbox wants to just stick into some gears and get jammed. So my gearbox looks like it's deteriorating at a very fast rate. We've got a lot of laps left in this Grand Prix, so this is very worrying. I don't know if we're going to have to go out the Grand Prix at some point, but here we go. On the exit, how ironic, Vandoorne just comes out just ahead of us, side by side. So after all of that, all the fighting I've done to overtake 5 cars, Vandoorne and myself come nose to tail, side by side. We're going to dive down the inside, we're going to get the place, squeeze out Vandoorne, and that's not going to be very good scenes for Vandoorne or my team. I don't think they're going to be very happy with me, but with the issues I've got, I'm going to take anything I can get in this race. But now we're going to look at a replay now of this little scrap between Fuoco and Sainz, and then eventually him going out of the Grand Prix. So Fuoco brilliantly down the inside there, does really well. A little bit of contact there between Sainz and Fuoco, so just like he made contact with me earlier on the Grand Prix. Thankfully Fuoco, though, no further contacts made, but then he goes very slowly, getting parked on by Fuoco. We go round the outside, we're going to squeeze Sainz out, but look, no contacts made there with Sainz. He just can't keep it round the outside, and then very awkwardly gets his right front smashed off by Leclerc's left rear tyre, I think that was. So now we move back onto our POV, lap 24 on towards lap 25, under pressure from Vandoorne as I'm struggling now, like having no third gear through the final corner, very tricky, and Vandoorne comes down the inside. I'm going to squeeze him, we're going to go to the inside, surprise him on the apex there, and try and hold this position, which will be P7 here, and we just about squeeze him out and hold him up there once again.
Okay, Aarava, don't hold up Stoffel here, please. He's going to be faster than you.
If he's faster, then he'll overtake me. If not, then stay behind. Tough luck.
We think Stoffel can catch Verstappen for a podium, Aarava.
So my Jaguar engineers are very adamant that if Stoffel overtakes me here, he'll have the clean air to then go and maybe press Max Verstappen at the very end of the race for a podium position potentially. And so with, you know, the pace I've got, which is very slow, as you can see by the top right, as Vandoorne goes down my inside this time round, you know, I'm staying in second because I don't have third to go up to. I go up to fourth and the car bogs down. I just let Vandoorne through. You know, it's a fair enough argument for the team, and honestly, at the rate I'm going, I really am actually holding Vandoorne up so much. So at this point, Vandoorne does get away. You can see just how kind of awkward this car is driving at the moment. And so Vandoorne already, just 1 sector gone. Look how much he's gaining on me already. And the pace, or lack of pace, I've got. Oh my god! Antonio Giovinazzi! No! Antonio Giovinazzi's out of this Grand Prix. He was chasing Romain Grosjean for first place in the Hungarian Grand Prix. That is a nightmare for Ferrari, as Vettel's already down the order, and we are completely cut of what would have been a very feisty and tasty battle for first place. Safety car has been called out there, and as we're in the safety car period, just once again showing you guys this is a very real issue. Second to fourth, I don't have third, because I'm sure some people will think I'm making this up on purpose. I'm not. The game has actually given me a gearbox failure, and I have actually lost third gear. Just one last time, just to prove to you guys. But anyway, under the safety car, it's Romain Grosjean now from Daniel Ricciardo. Mick Schumacher in third place, yet to pit there. Then you've got Max Verstappen, Vandoorne, myself, Sophia Flores, who's made an extra pit stop on super soft tyres. Then followed by Kevin Magnussen, I think that is, I think it's an Audi of Sergio Perez. Then Lando Norris in the points at the moment, ahead of Sebastian Vettel. So my fellow Brit and Brit youngster Lando Norris doing a fabulous job in the points at the moment in the Williams car. But what a shame for Giovinazzi to go out of the Grand Prix, because I really thought he was closing in on Grosjean quite rapidly. So we were kind of robbed of what could have been a great scrap at the end there. And apologies, actually, it was Mick Schumacher in second. Schumacher in second place in this Grand Prix at the moment, 5 laps gone. So I wonder, is Schumacher actually fighting for a podium? He could be fighting for first place. Mick Schumacher down the inside of first place of the Grand Prix. Sophia Flores's teammate goes down my inside to try and grab second place there. I've lost the back end there, narrowly just missing the grass. But look at that, it is Schumacher leading the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's been a while since anyone said that in Formula 1, and so now we're defending from 6th place just about. Vandoorne already, this entire top 5 pack getting away from me. And so now we move on to the end of lap 30. We've got 5 laps left of this Grand Prix, but I'm losing the back end here on the last corner. Got no drive because I have to go from 2nd to 4th, and that just cuts your revs. And so Sophia Flores in the Monster Rehab car comes down the inside. She's going to have that play. She's on super soft tyres, remember. She pit a little bit earlier, and it looks like there's been a bit of contact ahead of us between Vandoorne and Verstappen. So I think Vandoorne may have hit the rear end of Verstappen, but I've lost the back end there trying to do the switchback move, and it's going to be no use. I want to try and go around the outside, but I just don't have the grip and the actual rev range for it. And then Sophia actually comes into the pits, so shame for her. She's on super softs, and maybe the team, obviously they've got a lot to learn of fighting in the top flight. It's only been like half a season now that Monster Rehab, or before they were called Force India, have been in that top fight with Schumacher from last season, remember, so they've got plenty to learn on the strategy. So she has to make a late pit stop there, unfortunate for her. So now we do keep back 5th place, but now on to lap 32. This will be Stoffel Vandoorne going for a move for Max Verstappen, 3rd place in the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Vettel is going to try and overtake me, so we're going side by side. I squeeze him out, and look at that, up ahead there was some smoke off the rear end of Verstappen. So once again, Verstappen able to defend from Vandoorne, and again there's been contact between Vandoorne and Verstappen. So narrowly it's going to be Grosjean still, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Vandoorne, myself still from Sebastian Vettel. But now we move on to lap 34. We've just got 2 laps left in this Grand Prix, and Vettel is really charging. Obviously he'll know about my gearbox issues at this point, and he's going to try and spoil the party. Of course, both of us were way down the order, so both of us have made a fantastic recovery. But as you can see there, we've gone wide on that next corner, so Vettel should have a pretty good switchback line in the racing line. We're going to go a little bit wide on this next corner, so on the run up to the hill to sector 2, Vettel will try and go down the inside. We brake early to do the switchback ourselves, and Vettel has got it too deep into that corner. He's cooked it into that corner, and so we're back up into P5. So we're narrowly just about hanging on. We can see getting the rear end a little bit loose, and Vettel will try and move around the outside. Meanwhile, you can see there Vandoorne right up the gearbox of Max Verstappen, still trying to fight for that podium, and he better get the podium because I let him through earlier on in the Grand Prix. But now on to lap 35, the last lap of the Grand Prix. It's Grosjean, Ricciardo, and then there goes Vandoorne for one last ditch effort down the inside to get up into 3rd place, but Verstappen's having none of it. He's still going to charge round the outside. Verstappen's got the traction. He'll go down the inside of, this will be turn 2, I think this is, and they'll go side by side. He'll try and squeeze Vandoorne out, but Vandoorne will stick it down the inside and squeeze him back. And just like previously in the Grand Prix, squeeze him out, leave him for dust. Will they still go side by side? No, I don't think so. I think Vandoorne's got it. He's got it on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Stoffel Vandoorne has got the podium, so that's good on him. I let him through. The team were adamant he would get that third place, and he's done and gone the job. So now I am actually okay with letting him through earlier on. He's got the podium. He secured it. Very, very good stuff for Jaguar Racing, and me staying ahead of Sebastian Vettel, just about ahead of Sergio Perez. Then it's Kevin Magnussen, I think that is, and then Lando Norris just about hanging on to P9, I think that is, for a brilliant set of points there for the young Brit, ahead of, I think that is one of the Red Bull cars, of potentially Pierre Gasly, who could also get the first points for Red Bull Racing, which would be great for them as they've been struggling in the first few rounds. But there is Norris doing a really good job. Meanwhile, up ahead, it is Romain Grosjean to win the Hungarian Grand Prix from Daniel Ricciardo. It's a fantastic win for Romain Grosjean, his first win in his career. Fantastic stuff for Haas Chevrolet, and we come home just about for 5th place there, ahead of Sebastian Vettel.
Checkered flag, Roman, checkered flag. Absolutely amazing, dude.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to Formula 1, Gina. This is the day. This is history, guys. This is a win. Unbelievable from everyone. Unbelievable.
Amazing scenes there for the Haas Chevrolet team and Romain Grosjean, who gets his first win in Formula 1. His last podium was back in 2013 with the Lotus F1 team. That is absolutely amazing, and that's why Chevrolet came into Formula 1. They knew they could bring a good package for Haas, and that's why Haas also wanted to depart Ferrari last season. They've done the job. It's taken 3 races, but finally it's come through for them. They got the pole with Hulkenberg. Unfortunately, Hulkenberg way down the order in this race, but Grosjean brings it home for first place. But I think it's been a noble effort by us to get 5th place with that gearbox issue. Third gear, as I said, was probably one of the worst gears to lose around this circuit, so I think we can pat ourselves on the back to get those points home there ahead of Vettel. And Vandoorne, bravo to get 3rd place there. I let him through, and fair enough, he went and got 3rd, and he was looking pretty damn punchy out there. I didn't actually see what happened with him because there was far more important action going on with Vandoorne and myself. But what occurred was Mick Schumacher was in the lead. He had to actually pit for a last-ditch pit stop, just like his teammate Sophia. So unfortunately, both of them end out at the points, and that's how we jumped up the order to get that 5th place. So real unfortunate for that young team, obviously being taken over by Monster and being rebranded with Monster Rehab. They have a lot to learn, but they've got the pace, and surely, eventually, that pace will come through. But a little noble mention for them because they were out there in the lead, so you may be confused at why they went down the order. But guys, what an episode. What action we've seen at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Once again, Hungary does not disappoint in the MyDriver universe. If you have enjoyed that episode, smash the like button, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I've been loving your comments on these MyDriver episodes. I love making this series for you guys, and I love the fact that you guys love watching it. It's a match made in heaven. Guys, if you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and let's move on to the post-race interview questions. Goodbye.
Well, Arav, that has got to be one of the toughest races in your Formula 1 career. And at the end of it all, are you at least a little happy to still come home with 10 points?
Yeah, I guess one could be happy with getting some points after that. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that did go wrong, could have gone wrong, did go wrong in that race. Yeah, first, spin with Carlos and Sebastian, and then gearbox failure about a third to the end. Yeah, I guess getting 10 points after all of that is not too bad, but, it's just annoying that we could have definitely got a podium with Stoffel getting one right at the end there. But, I mean, props to him. He had pretty good pace the entire race, and I think we could have had quite a scrap, actually, if it weren't for the failure. And, yeah, it's just annoying, though, still. Even though we do have 10 points, you got Ricciardo getting 2nd place and just being super, super consistent here. So, at the moment, we're a little bit behind and on the back foot now for the next round. But, obviously, it's only round 3, so... yeah.
You mentioned it just now, that first incident with Sainz, I don't know if you know this, but he's come out and said you were way out of line for not only that, but then the second incident you two had later in the race. Care to comment?
Yeah, I don't know what on earth he's on about. I don't see how that was. I don't see how that was out of line at all. If you're talking about the first incident, that was just him taking me out. I mean, at the point, you can look back at the replays. At that point, when he touches me, I'm fully ahead of him. Like he's got no jurisdiction over trying to overtake me. Like, well, he wasn't even trying to overtake me at that point. He just ran into the back of me and just tapped my rear tire. So, yeah, I don't know what on earth he's on about. I don't know, maybe he's got some heat exhaustion here in the heat of Hungary, but I don't see in what context that is my fault at all for the first incident. I squeezed him out on the left successfully. I was fully ahead of him. His nose was nowhere near alongside my car, and he just decides to accelerate into my rear tire. So, and inadvertently that caught up Sebastian, which I sort of apologized for. I mean, at that point I had no control over my car. I was just spinning in neutral, just because at that point I thought I was probably out of the race. So I don't know what on earth he's on about there. And then for the second incident, I didn't even touch him. He just ran wide on his own accord. So yeah, I don't know. If he's got an issue, then he'll come talk to me about it. But yeah, that's a rather confusing statement from him.
And as if that wasn't enough for you, for the last third of the race, from what we heard over team radio, you were having some serious gearbox issues.
Yeah, we had gearbox issues. We lost second gear first of all, which wasn't too bad. Actually. Second gear, you don't really use it too much here around Hungary, apart from maybe the chicane, and just the first corner. But then afterwards, after the pit stop, we boxed, and then we lost third gear. Got second gear back, but we lost third gear, which is probably one of the worst gears to lose around here, especially for me. I use third gear a lot mid-corner to try and pick up some traction, maybe try and make some moves or make some gains in the corners. So that was probably one of the worst gears to lose around this circuit. So yeah, from then on, it was really kind of a pretty torrid afternoon of just kind of trying to bring it home for, well, what was in the end 10 points.
Going forward, has your relationship with Stoffel and the team changed? Because as you mentioned, you were reluctant to let him through earlier in the race, and it took a missing third gear to persuade you to do so.
No, I don't think the relationship changes at all. I mean, yeah, I was pretty reluctant to let Stoffel through initially, because losing second gear I don't think it was that bad, as I said. It took me some time to adjust to it, but eventually once I was adjusted right to the end of that stint, I thought it was okay to defend Stoffel and I could go to the end like that. But then obviously we boxed because we wanted some clean air. They were also maybe going to look into the issue whilst I was in the pits, look at the data or whatever. But yeah, then we ran in clean air, but then I lost third gear, and that was kind of, yeah, the killer of I'm just holding him up at this point. And in hindsight, yeah, it was a good thing that I let him through, because he got third place in the end. So in the end, for the team, it's a much better thing for him to get the podium there. And yeah, I don't think there's any kind of bad blood or anything like that between myself and him. I mean, I've kind of always stated there's always been a high amount of respect for one another. I mean, we've not really tangled at all before in any instance for the last year and a half. So yeah, no, there's nothing wrong there. And I think just moving forward, just for me, I just need the team to look into the issue. It's the first big reliability issue we've had in the race. So now we've seen it. Hopefully we can look at it, rectify it, and move on from here. So yeah, no, I think that's where we just move forward, and it's all kind of positive and up from here, I guess.